Ram Chandra's real name was Edward Royce Ramsamy, and he was born in New South Wales. He actually went to Grafton High School, but for many Queenslanders, and North Queenslanders in particular, they'll know him as Ram Chandra. And in fact, people my age, I'm 55, actually got to see Ram Chandra with snakes, because he was an expert snake handler, either in school or at the supermarket. And my mum actually reminded me today, remember when we went to Kmart, and outside Kmart here in Townsville was Ram Chandra with his snakes.
Just doing what he does with his snakes.
It seems amazing now. And to think, it's been very interesting for me, Mia, to read about him properly, which is fantastic. I've read this important little book called Search for the Taipan. I've got it here in the studio. The Story of Ram Chandra by Philip Jones. It's only a tiny paperback, really, but it's an important little book because Ram Chandra is an important North Queenslander. I'm fully adopting him as a North Queenslander. He spent a significant part of his life, his family, living in Mackay. He's buried in Mackay, and there's a park named after him in Mackay. And of course, he starts as in the show circuit, really, essentially, and the handling of snakes begins in the show circuit. But he became much more than a showman because he was such a huge contributor to the development of the anti-venin for the taipan. It's a very scary snake, let's make no bones about it, and it's known as probably the deadliest snake in the world for the poison of the venom. And he was a big contributor to supplying venom for the development of the anti-venin. And of course, this incredible thing that happened to him, this incredible taipan bite he sustained in 1956. This is just a crazy story, and it's one of those true crazy stories. So I've actually got the article here from the Central Queensland Herald for Thursday, April 12th, 1956, and it says, Ram Chandra survives bite from taipan. The snake expert Ram Chandra today survived a taipan snake bite. His life was saved by taipan antivenin, in the development of which he played a leading part. And so the antivenin was produced from venom milked by Chandra from the taipan, which struck him. So Chandra was demonstrating the milking of the taipan to nearly 90 delegates to the triennial conference of the ambulance superintendents and brigade officials. After the bite, he administered his own first aid and he continued with the demonstration. Chandra recaptured the taipan. This is after he's bitten Mia. He recaptures the taipan, then allowed a carpet snake to bite him on the left hand to prove that non-venomous snake bites bled freely. Remember, he's demonstrating to the ambulance officers.
It's all about education.
It is, totally. So that's what his life becomes after the show. But 20 minutes after the bite, Chandra collapsed against the side of the canvas pit in which he was working. And there was numerous snakes in that pit, not just a taipan. And Superintendent Borsarini, big shout out to the Borsarini family, but Superintendent Borsarini leapt into the pit among about 20 snakes, including the taipan, and he heaved the fainting Chandra over the 4-foot canvas walls, and Chandra was rushed by ambulance to the Mackay District Hospital, where he was immediately injected with the antivenin. And it's reported tonight that he's making a good recovery from that antivenin. So it's just an outrageous story. And later in hospital, Chandra said, I was caught on the wrong foot. My left leg is a little weak, and I had all the weight on it. I could not move fast enough. And that weak leg was actually identified when he joined the army. So he did actually have a weak leg, not from being bitten a lot by snakes, mind you, because paralysis is part of, the symptom of the snake poison. But yeah, so that's all about reactions. So he didn't have enough time to react. And I was thinking about this business of being involved with snakes. It really would be about reactions and anticipating the snake's move and you being faster than the snake or moving at the right interval. Because one of the tricks he would do when he was a showman is he'd have a tiger snake. He practiced a lot with tiger snakes in the 40s when he was on the show circuit as a man in his 20s. And he'd throw down a shilling and the tiger snake would strike at the shilling. And as his head came back, Ram Chandra had grabbed the shilling. So you've got to be pretty fast, haven't you?
Very good reflexes.
Because that tiger snake would strike again. So It's absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, wow, brilliant. I imagine he got pretty used to being bitten by snakes after all
Well, yeah,
this.
he was definitely bitten several times by various snakes, and we, from this article, we know that he had snakes bite him, and he survived those. But he did live with the ramifications of snake bite. He had some, long-term effects. But importantly, throughout his life, he raised more than $80,000 for the Queensland Ambulance Service, and about $9,000 for the Queensland Cancer Fund. This is reported in 2012, and many thousands of dollars for his local Lions clubs, the Rotary clubs, Apex, the local charities. So he's much loved and respected patriarch, and his family recall his incredible self-discipline and intelligence. So he's awarded the British Empire Medal in 1975 in the Queen's Birthday Honours. He was made Pioneer Shire Citizen, that's in Mackay, for the year in 1982, and he got the Order of the Outback in 1985. He got the Order of Australia Medal in 1995. So this is a well-awarded man. So
very well recognised.
Yeah, no, just a really interesting life, from beginning on the farm in New South Wales and having a number of different jobs. Like, he actually worked for a chemist. He actually worked at the Sydney Fish Market. Before he ends up going to Luna Park and hooking up with another man of Indian origin who's doing a various sort of magic, it's a magic show, and he gets involved with him, and that's where he really gets introduced to snakes. But his dad, apparently, Ram Chandra's dad, was really interested in reptiles and apparently taught him to respect snakes. So not to be fearful, but to just respect.
Do you think that's what brought him up to Queensland?
Yeah.
All the snakes we have up here.
Well, it's interesting. So in the 40s, the Second World War was happening. And so I think remembering what's in the book here, Search for the Taipan, they realised that all the army guys, particularly the Americans, come to the show circuit, were really interested to see the snakes. And so they follow, the demand there. So they come up the coast, and they end up in Townsville and much further. So yeah, that's really what drove that, was the Second World War.
Did he work with this other fellow for a little while? Or?
He did, yeah. Nazir, his name was. He worked with him for a while, and then they broke up, and he worked with other show people. But he really wanted to get away from that show life and to be known as a serious snake expert, and he certainly was. And that's really interesting to read the book about his show days. He's dressing up in a turban and a glowy outfit and spruiking. And of course, he was an Australian. He wasn't an Indian. He was born in New South Wales, but he's part of the show, so he could do that. He could do all the showman business. But when I saw him in school, he had white shirt, black pants, a tie, and he was very quiet. And I think that's the trait I remember, is this super calm. Which you'd want to have, wouldn't you, in a pit of 20 snakes?
Definitely. And talking about that, having a pit of snakes, I wonder how that works with being on a travelling show circuit.
Yeah, well, it's quite funny in the book. Snakes are escaping at various points.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Just have
overnight,
to catch new
overnight.
snakes.
Oh, we lost the carpet snake. Where's it
no.
gone? And it ends up in some lady's house near the showgrounds, where it has to be retrieved. But he's very anti the killing of snakes always. Yeah, so he's always wanting to retrieve snakes and take them back. So he clearly did have a deep respect for snakes. Wow, what a fearless man.